But in a time of destruction, what often follows the wind is the fire. So I see a lot of people now that it seems like the wind is dying down. We came down to level 4, down to level 3, a little bit of relaxation in level 3. People are now trying to pick up the dead wood. The problem with picking up the dead wood is that the fire loves the dead wood. And if you pick it up, it's going to be fuel to the fire and it will destroy the tree that otherwise may have survived. My name is Dean Haystack, the Dean, and you're listening to The Coffee Conversation. Unfortunately, people and businesses are making very, very bad decisions right now. Now, it's not necessarily because they're bad people. I don't think it's at all. But they are making very, very bad decisions. Landlords at home are not allowing people who are not earning to pay less. But even worse, I think many of them actually are helping. Even worse, in business, landlords in commercial and industrial are not giving concessions to businesses that have not been able to trade or not being able to trade totally. So you're finding so many businesses are closing down. It's not because they're bad people, but it is a bad decision. Because what people are trying to do is they're trying to preserve themselves instead of trying to survive this time of destruction. Now, we need to understand the season. So this is metaphorically and archetypically. I'm going to just reveal a few things so that we can consider this whole point of view from a philosophical point of view, because the age-old stories actually have something to say. The reason why they're age-old and not outdated or unfashionable is because they've actually stood the test of time. Now, the winds of change are blowing, and we've recently had storms here where I stay, and the trees were shaken so badly that the dead wood fell off. Anything that was not strong fell off that tree. And that's significant. Firstly, trees are symbols, metaphorically, in the ancient times of mankind, or men. There was a statement that said, I see trees as men walking. What that meant was that I see a tree symbolized as a man, and I see that he's on the path, a righteous path. So symbolically, trees and humans, or man, is tied together, and the winds blowing is about change. So the wind comes, the dead wood falls off, but in a time of destruction, what often follows the wind is the fire. So I see a lot of people now that it seems like the wind is dying down. We came down to level 4, down to level 3, a little bit of relaxation in level 3. People are now trying to pick up the dead wood. The problem with picking up the dead wood is that the fire loves the dead wood, and if you pick it up, it's going to be fuel to the fire and it will destroy the tree that otherwise may have survived. That's why I'm thinking this is not a time to try and preserve. This is a time to try and survive and take with you what you need, that when the storm ends, you can start again. Let me give you an example, another archetypical story, Noah's Ark. And I don't care if it's a real story or not. What does the story tell us? Because it's age old, and it does tell us a story. He didn't try and preserve the world that was being destroyed. What he did is he tried to survive it. So he built an ark. He put everything on the ark that he needed to survive. He battened down the hatches. And when the storm subsided and the waters came down again, he had also put in the ark what he needed to start again, and then he did, and he was the only one who survived. We are in that type of season. We need to recognize the season. You do not do in summer what you do in winter, and you do not do in autumn what you do in spring. If you do, your harvest is a disaster. Let's try to recognize the time that we are in. I know that this is philosophical, but I've been batting my brain and racking my brain, I've been racking my brain to try and work out how do I get through this. And I realized if I know the season, I can make the appropriate decisions as to what to do. I will know better what to do, if not exactly what to do. There are landlords not giving concessions. There are also bed and breakfasts, hotels, guest lodges, self-accommodation, self-catering accommodation that's standing empty. This is not about making money at this point in time. This is about minimizing losses to whatever extent we can. So if there are people who are not able to pay their rent anymore, and there are other people who've got empty accommodation, surely it would be a good idea for the guest houses, the bed and breakfasts, the hotels, the resorts, the lodges, to allow that people come in on full-time letting for a reduced rental. Not to make money, but at least just so that those institutions and those establishments can still pay their bills, and other people who can't afford the high rentals for a season can at least make it through. There's 4 things that we need to survive. We need oxygen, 3 minutes without you die. Water, 3 days without it, you die. And food, a few weeks without it, and you die. And shelter, we need any time. These are basic fundamentals. Both are suffering. Those that aren't working can't pay their rent. Those that work in accommodation aren't having accommodation in the temporary. Let's make it permanent. Create a solution for all without being greedy or selfish. I think if we understand the season, we know better how to respond to the destruction that we are in. The destruction must come. It's part of the cycle. Do you see the picture here? In trying to preserve, we're actually creating a greater destruction for all. And if you think you can preserve your own world, you need to consider that if I live in a road and I've got a neighbor on each side of me and 3 behind me, and I somehow manage to get electricity and water and my sewerage is working and I've got food, and they don't because they haven't managed to get off the grid. As soon as they run out of water, that's 3 days before they start dying. They're going to come after me for my water. If they're not flushing their toilets, their sewage is going to start backing up and disease is going to start in my neighbor. It will spread to me. You cannot preserve just yourself in this. Unfortunately, we actually all tied in this. So I'm encouraging people to recognize the season, not to try and make money here, but let's try and reduce the losses, not to try and preserve what we may have built up over the years. I can't stay in that house. I've got to get out. Otherwise, if I don't get my work, I'm going to be even more in damage. It's not about making money. It's about preventing losses. It's not about preserving. It's about surviving, getting through to the other side and starting again. I think philosophically, that might give us a bit more direction. My name is Dean Haystack, and I'm just a guy who gives a damn.